Good afternoon. We are online on our channel Material Balance, and today we will have a short talk on what is the perspective to make a master in the material balance design. And we have two guests. The first one is Andrea Rossi from Affect Studio. He is one of the principals of the studio, and we will ask a perspective of how he will structure his participation in the masters, which will be the key things to do, what is his expectations, his idea of how a master could be. And on the other side, we have Yang Di. We will interview after Andrea, and we will ask him how was his path in the master, the elements he took in his experience, and what he suggests, and why a master could be useful, and in particular on his formation. So the first one is Andrea. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
First, a little bit of your studio. You're considered a young emergent studio. You will be young until 50.
That's good to know.
Yeah. And but you have one very prestigious project recently. So what's the secret?
Hard work, for sure. And we are a little practice, and it's founded by myself, Giovanni San and 𝗘𝗱𝗁𝗂𝗐𝗏, which we met along the way of... Actually, 𝗘𝗱𝗁𝗁𝗑, I met him in the master where I started in 2013-15 at the Architectural Association, and then Giovanni later on while working for Mario Cucinella Architects. So I think what we like to say about our practice is that also from the name, a fact, we like to base our design assumptions on facts. So we always try to look for factual data to then be converted into architectural inputs and the final outcome. So we don't, for that reason, we don't really have an consolidated architectural style, because we adapt to site, program, and anything that should come into a project of architecture. And I think what's nice about what we are trying to do is that despite we are quite a small practice, at the moment we are about 9 people, we like to say that we are able to manage and work on quite a medium big scale projects, which is actually the size of project that the office is seeking for and is actually working on. So, and we do a lot of competitions, so that's how we got our biggest jobs. Plus some investors who believed in us from the very beginning, and that's also really, really good. So.
Okay. Yeah. And when I asked if you would like to be involved in the master, you were quite excited. What did you think could be the formation? So I saw a lot of enthusiasm, and I'm very happy with it. But I think it's also because you believe in some ways how could be today the competencies for an architect.
Yeah, we think that the profession is changing quite a lot in a way that some of the items we have to deal with are becoming so complicated, and at the same time, they used to be, for example, a lot of what comes into construction was originally offset to the general contractor. The general contractor now, for many reasons, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't, is kind of losing this capability of dealing with complexity. So somehow complexity is heading back towards the architectural practices, and to deal with that, you need to have many more subjects you have to be aware of, and which on one hand is really nice, because you have always an overview of once again the complexity that lies behind building a building, actually. But at the same time requires quite a big effort in terms of competencies and in terms of being updated with new technologies and new ways of fabrication, materials, etc., etc. So I think in that sense, we were very enthusiastic for being invited to contribute to the master, because we think that it's always a good way to have this mix between professional activity, which is not only architectural practices, it's also potential suppliers, engineering companies, etc., and the world of didactic, because in a way the world of didactic is a little freer from some of the constraints we have to deal with every day in the practice. So interacting with that is always very stimulating. And at the same time, I think the other way around. What we can bring to the didactic world is being a little more blunt and direct when it comes to decision making, which is 100% necessary in practice, because you simply do not have time. And you have to take a decision.
I think too, this is very interesting to put together the theoretical background with the practice one, and merging the digital and the matter together also, because we had a big period of digital or AI, but at the very end, architecture is sort of putting in practice everything. So I think also your suggestion is for our workshop, for our master, to make a workshop with manufacturers, so designing the component, making a prototype. And I think if you can explain your idea, I think this also was a very interesting point for us, that is sort of picking in practice your vision.
Yeah, we think, I mean, what we will try to do with our contribution to the master is stimulating the students in starting from a real case of design, in particular a chunk of a facade, and trying to explore the possibility of working that into either 2D or 3D, hopefully more 3D, with a material that is concrete, which sometimes is taken as the enemy of sustainability. But once again, looking at data, right? Concrete is the material that is the most used around the world in construction, but by really far. And if you look at the numbers of square meterage that we have to add every year to cope with the growth of population, then to us it's very clear. And we read a very interesting article. I think it was an engineer from Bureau Happold or Ramble. I don't want to.
Be careful.
But it was exactly. But it was really, really nice, because he was talking about the fact that it's impossible to think about mass timber construction on a worldwide scale. Otherwise, we would simply run out of trees in a couple of years. And we agree with that. So in a way, exploring new technologies applied to traditional materials, such as concrete, is very interesting. So we hope to have on board 2 very practical partners, one of which is dealing with complexity in facade modules, which is Steel Comp, and the other one that is Heidelberg Materials when it comes to the material itself, so the cement and the concrete, and how to make it more sustainable throughout the process of fabricating it, reusing it, etc. and etc. So there will be, let's say, one part that for us is super important, which is gathering information about the program of the building, and therefore translating those data into a design input. And then with this design input, creating an output that then we're going to have the chance of fabricating in scale, of course. But still having the opportunity of touching the material with our hands, which is also very important, because to us is key to sort of fill the gap a bit between the profession that is all the time in the office and then the construction, which is a very, very practical act. And in a way, architects need to understand how it works, because otherwise it's hard to design things without knowing how they're built afterwards.
True. And do you think students will be ready for this? It's a provocative question, no? Because sometimes we say they're too technical, or they're too horizontal, or they don't want to go deep, or they need to be talented.
I think yes, because in a way, it's not the outcome what really matters. Because the outcome, architecture is like that, it's the outcome of architecture is something very subject to personal taste, because in the end of the day, it's an aesthetic object, right? Then you can say, okay, it's very practical, it works very well, it fit the purpose, etc. and etc. and etc. But it's a built space you interact with this, and therefore there's all your emotions are coming into this interaction. But I think what's very important is the process, because what, to be honest, are struggling a bit with, especially with the new resources. In our office, we're very lucky, because the people that are working for us at the moment, we think they they really understand this kind of process, and they're very careful. But looking around, sometimes it's hard to have a strong methodology. And we think that's what's very important to transfer to the students more than the outcome, because the outcome can be refined by exercise and practice, but the methodology is really what can make a difference.
Yeah, true. And I think it's also our mission as a university, because all cases will be different wherever you will start working, different fields. But if you have a strong methodology, probably you feel more valuable, that you're more grown. But this we can ask to 𝗠𝗕𝗏. So how was your, I think I need the microphone. Yeah, because 𝗠𝗕𝗏 made the last edition of the master. So I think we start from this. Did you left the final experience with the method, with the lens, with some specific competences? Did it open your mind, or what was your catch-up of this experience at the very end?
Well, I think this master is a very good opportunity for us to firstly open our mind and border our visions. This is the first thing that I can get. And the secondary is also have the deepness, which for every workshop you can touch the essential idea of the different things that you cannot learn in the ordinary university courses. You can get your hands dirty, really, that you can build. For example, you can try the CNC, you can try the 3D printing, and you can touch the materials. These things are really rare that maybe nowadays university has to be progress more, because it's a vasting, pushing forward era. You know, we have a digital manufacturing from 20 years ago. Now we have artificial intelligence, but our structure of the traditional university are still maybe 20 years ago. So I think this master really is a good opportunity for us to know what's different things that we can get, maybe inside, not only inside of the architecture industry, but also on the border of it, so that you can try different things and find out which you are really interested in. I think this is the main things that I am very excited to experience in this master course.
Yeah, probably in other contexts, when you start working, you become very vertical.
Yes.
And so you lose a little bit the feeling of what's happening. And then you think it was a value also to have different figures, because we had architects, engineers, other professors, institutions. If the environment also have the different paths, industries, could help to also to imagine ourselves in a new role or in a new position.
Yeah, I think it is very important. At least if you want to become a good architect, let's say, I think you really have to know things from everywhere. If you know more things than the normal people, your neural link in your mind will be connect together more quickly, and which means that you can find out different solutions for your design, or you can find out a different thinking. So it is very important that we can have people from the different industrial phase in architecture. And also we have some course I remember from the climate change. It is a very good experience that you can find out why we want to do the sustainable design. Because in before, if you don't know, you only say, okay, we want to do sustainable design because of the money or because of something else, but you don't know the methodology behind it. And after you know it, you can maybe you can have more passion, or you can have more idea why you need to do that, which I think it is very good in this master course.
You feel more grounded of your why, let's say.
Yes, yes. You have more faith, or you have more thought. Yeah.
And maybe it helps also at thinking, how do you see architecture in the future? What is your vision? Where do you think it's a very difficult and broad question.
It is.
Maybe we will give it also to Andrea.
I think so.
Where are we going? Maybe also when there are studies on future, they say, where would you like to go, where we would like, where we can, and where we think. So it's three different declination of the future. What's your idea?
It's hard to face, you know. And I think as an architect, you have to be your mind has to be open. Like you cannot, you have like different roles. If you want to go deeper in one perspective, that will be nice. But at the same time, you have to be very, very like open your mind to like acquire everything and accept everything. Like you cannot, at least you cannot set a border by yourself. Like you have to always be interested in everything. I think this is the future that architects do, because for nowadays, using some tools that can like go really deeper. For example, I believe a lot of people have been experienced the power of the artificial intelligence. Like it can give you a very, very deep solution answer in a lot of things, which maybe you have to take maybe 1 year or 2 years to learn. For example, read like the laws and something else, and repeat like mine in your know in your mind. But now this work, we can give it into some automatically things. So which means our role in the future maybe present like more like a cross-border, multidisciplinary thinker, rather than like a worker on one specific roles. Yes, but of course you have to be deep in 1 or 2 or 3. I mean, the machine also like can help us to do things, but but overall, it's our own job to create our lives. So you can
take our responsibility.
Yes, so it means like opportunities, like you can go deeper, more easier than before, and open your mind.
Maybe Andrea, what do you think?
It's a very complex question. Yes. But I think I agree totally with you saying that the discipline is moving towards a multidisciplinary approach, which we need to be aware of 100%, as well as new technologies, the AI and automation, not only in the digital world, but then also in the construction world. But at the same time, we strongly believe that in the end of the day, the architect is the person in charge of drawing a line and creating a synthesis of all the inputs and taking a decision, which is super important, because in the end of the day, our final goal is to make new parts of cities, buildings, interiors where people are feeling comfortable with. They can sort of create and develop their own identity there, whether it's a healthcare place, it's an educational place, office place, blah, blah, whatever the program is. But we think that we design for people, and so in the end of the day, we need to be very much aware of not being driven too much by, for example, inputs that comes from the digital world or the digitalization of the process, et cetera, because otherwise there's the risk of losing this experiential part, which makes architecture unique. If you think about all the buildings that you love and you recognize yourself with, probably they are not perfect, but at the same time, they transfer some kind of emotion to you. Beauty. And this exactly this sense of beauty, which is within the proportions, within the use of light, within how open or closed they are to people, and for people to develop their relationship between each other. So I think this is one key element that no matter what is happening around us, we should sort of somehow also taking back, because we live in a moment where huge engineering companies that are also doing architecture, and so in a way it's all about, let's say, the performance of the architecture, and not really the beauty of architecture, which we finally believe it's really what makes a difference.
Yeah, I'm strongly agree with Andrea's saying. Like, I think there is not a single answer in this world. The thing that humans have to do is to enjoy it, balance it, and find the beauty through everything. And I think that the architect is the role that to practice the ability to find the beauty of your in your life.
And maybe Italy is also a very inspiring place. All the world is very nice. I don't want to be, and I'm not Italian, I'm French and Swedish. So, but I think this beauty that we see, that somehow it's around, helps also in understanding that what stays, it's a very big responsibility.
What do you mean?
The beauty of what has remained, of history, of taking care of things that somehow represent contemporary but should also last.
Yes. Yes. But at the same time, without becoming slaves of it. In Italy, for example, we do have this a lot. Like, I always like to say that, think about a place like San Marco Square, that for us is untouchable, right? But if you look at it deeper, you go basically from 1200 to 1800, more or less, plus the clock tower, which is a fake because it's been demolished by an earthquake and rebuilt as it was. So in a way, what you're looking at is like 7 centuries. Each one of them left a trace of their passage, and I think in a very interesting way, right? So that all the kind of spaces, architectural language do communicate something, but at the same time creates
something alive.
Exactly.
That works for the
Exactly.
present also.
And that also communicates that time is moving forward, right?
Yeah, this one, I think I have something to share, because in Italy, I've been experienced a lot, which Andrea said, that you have a different layer from the history, and you can feel them at the same time. For example, in Rome, you can find a square, a piazza, which used to be a horse race, right? This is very interesting. And as people from China, we also have something from that. But our new country just established less than 80 years, and we have very vast push forward our urbanization. So it is also a problem that we are facing, then how to deal with the history, and which I think in Italy you can feel it a lot. Which like this, there's not a better place than on earth. You can feel it that in Italy, and learn how to deal with the history and the things that in the present, and plus the history and the present, we are facing the future.
So I think it's okay. No, it's a good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I hope it will be inspiring, because our idea as universities is to inspire students and future designers to look at the world. I think open, it's a good feeling, sensing, open, a way in which you are in the world as an architect. So it's a way of living somehow.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Andrea, and
thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Okay.
For any question, write us.
Yeah. And welcome to Italy.
Yeah.